KX News Storm Team.
Welcome back to KX News at 10. And I'm going to start you off with a look at how cool things were just this morning at 7 a.m. This is what the map was looking like. We were in widespread lower 40s. We had some upper 30s. And look at that. Crosby even managed to get to that 32-degree mark, which might have been one of the first freezes that we've seen so far this early autumn. And these were the coolest morning lows earlier this morning. We had that 32, as I mentioned, there at Crosby. And we had a lot of mid-30s there across southwestern and central North Dakota, and even some upper 30s, a whole scattering of them across much of the state there. Mohall, Killdeer, even the Minot Air Force Base got to 39 degrees. Right now, we are not nearly that cool as we begin our downtrend towards the lower 40s and maybe some upper 30s across the area, with broadly mid-50s, already 46 at Hazen, which is shaping up to be potentially one of the colder spots tonight. Crosby already back to 48, and those were areas that got into the 30s last night, and they probably will again tonight. So it's looking like it'll be a fairly chilly evening, probably the coolest for the next 7 days, because we are going to be seeing the cool air express, as I'm calling it here, in between this high pressure system and this low pressure system that's been dragging in air out of Canada. It's going to slowly be pushing off to our east. So this will probably be, as I mentioned, the coolest night of the next several. And this high pressure system, which is approximately the core of the colder air mass that we've been dealing with, is going to slowly drift off to the south and east. And once we get behind it, we're going to have more southerly flow, and that's going to allow temperatures to slowly moderate back into the 80s for highs and 50s for lows. This is what the continental scale pattern is looking like. The trough that we had been talking about last night has since pushed even further off towards the Great Lakes region, and all that cool air mass is going to slowly move into the Great Lakes area. But over to the west, we have this ridging over the western United States, and that is slowly beginning to build its way back towards the northern plains. It's not a very strong ridge, but it will allow temperatures to slowly come up as it begins to make its way back towards the central part of the country. So we are going to be watching that as we get towards the middle of this week. For tonight, low temperatures are going to be getting into the lower 40s again, and as I'd mentioned, upper 30s are certainly possible again at our cooler spots over towards Hazen and probably up along the Canadian border, and a scattering of other locations as well. So looking like another chilly night, maybe even a few patches of frost possible, but once we push into tomorrow, things will be warming up a little bit. Really quickly, we are going to be about 10 degrees below normal lows, but still about 10 degrees away from record lows. Minot might come fairly close there with a forecast low of 42, record low of 39, but it's not looking very likely that we'll quite reach that point. But just to point out, we are going to be about 5 to 10 degrees away from those record lows. Tomorrow, we're going to be warming up into the mid-70s broadly across the board, with even some low 80s beginning to sneak in out there in northeastern Montana. Just a sign of that slight weakening trend that we are watching as we push towards Wednesday. And it's looking like another very beautiful day, very similar to today, but just a few degrees warmer. Look at that, spectacular, idyllic. I picked out some new adjectives for this afternoon, and not much in the way of winds and not much in the way of cloud cover. So looking fairly nice. Here's what the pattern is going to be looking like as we push towards the middle of the week. As I mentioned, this trough is going to move off to the east, and this weakish ridge is going to slowly begin to build in. It's not a significant ridge, so we aren't going to be expecting 90s, but this extra little minor heat dome here is going to allow temperatures to warm up to right around where we should be for early to late August, I should say. So we're going to be seeing about 83 degrees there at Williston by the time we get to Wednesday. It's stabling out towards right around 80 degrees by the time we get to the end of the week. And Dickinson, quite similar, going from those lower 70s tomorrow, and those lows also are going to be warming up into the lower 50s and highs in the mid 80s. As far as Minot's next 7 days go, it'll be very similar with lower 70s tomorrow, but a warming trend as we get towards Wednesday and Thursday, with steady temperatures for highs right around 80 degrees by the time we get into the weekend. And Bismarck, very similar, maybe a slight chance of showers by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, but otherwise dry, warming up to right around 85 for Wednesday, and then cooling off to right around 80 degrees by the time we get to the weekend. Tyler?